we're going to come back a little early because
There we go.
There we go. Did I start talking too early? I probably did. Oh, well, here I am. You never quite get this right. You know, every time you think you get it figured out, you do something, you go, I didn't know there were so many ways to do it wrong. So we're really excited to get back. Dave's going to come on in just a second, but I actually forgot to, with Evan's last session, to remind you to rate his talk. There's the barcode or the QR. I guess it's a QR code, not a barcode. Or you could just type in talk.ac/senior living. Take you about 30 seconds to fill that out. And this will just help us as we do future Ask sessions be better at it. It will help the speakers know what resonated with them, what didn't resonate, how to be better presenters. I know that when I do public speaking, I just devour the speaking content. Of course, the stuff I like best is when people say that I'm wonderful and perfect, but I actually learn more from people who say, you know, you could have, you know, you should have. Or, and then once in a while you go, I have no idea. Somebody will go, I have no idea what the hell you were talking about. And those are not much fun, but they're actually super helpful. So I appreciate you all doing that. Dave?
Yep. All right. So on we go. We have Glenn Hadley, my Senior Vice President of Strategy at Dreamscape. So we're going to talk about your website and your digital marketing campaign. So I'm going to do the housekeeping. So a lot of times Glenn and I do this together as hosts. So I'm going to do my housekeeping job that he usually does, which is at the bottom of your screen, there is a chat. If you've got problems, questions, and if you want to tell us where you're watching from right now, type it in. I'm still in Missouri. And so if you have a specific question for Glenn about his presentation, that goes in the little Q&A one right there. Steve already told you about the links, and I think that's it. So I think Steve needs to tell you about our little contest, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. Just a reminder for those of you who are new, we are going to count up the number of chats that you initiate. By the way, Dave's chats, my chats, the Dreamscape chats don't count, but if you initiate a chat, the person who has chatted the most comments that mean something as opposed to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we will send out for each day an Amazon gift card for $100. We are glad you're here, Glenn. I think that websites are everybody's pain. They're expensive. They're never as good as you want them to be. Every time, no matter how good it is and how great it is, you look at your website and go, oh man, I don't know what it is, but I've got to have it better. So help us figure this website thing out and what really an optimal website looks like.
That's a great point. And I've been on that side of the desk where I'm looking at my website and just going, golly, it just doesn't, it doesn't tell my story. I actually got into website design 10 years ago, and on my own, where I was working for a healthcare operator, and they asked me, they said, hey, will you go take a look at this website thing? And we got a guy, and go look at it and see what you think. And I was like, sure, why not? Let's go dig into this thing. Like it makes sense that you're asking me, who knows nothing about this this area of marketing, to go look at the digital side and take a look at it and see what I know. And I got into the weeds of this thing and was fortunate to have a mentor there that was with me that walked through it, and we made a whole bunch of mistakes, but it just really it really highlighted the challenge that we have to kind of to walk both sides of the aisle. And what I mean by that is to accurately portray the company and the organization that we're working for while converting, right? It's like it's usually an either or, and so it kind of I dug into that, and it's been just a wild ride to get to this point now, to where I've had the opportunity to see both sides of the fence and how we marry those things together. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And Dave, thanks for the introduction too. It is kind of odd that normally, like, it wasn't that long ago that, well, it's been a few years now that Dave and I were putting on these virtual conferences for the very first time in a world that had never seen a virtual conference. And we put on the very first virtual conference in behavioral healthcare And it was insane. We had no idea what to expect. We were telling presenters, like when we started, that we don't know how many people are going to show up. We'll see. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And whenever the first session was about to start, and there were already 500 people sitting in the session waiting. And then when we got done at the end of the whole conference, there was like 10,000 people from all over the world. We were like, wow, this is an amazing way to get the information out. And it has turned into a pretty exciting vehicle and a great marketing tool, right? To kind of advertise and also to tell your story. So just glad to be a part of it and be a part of this deal here. So like Dave said, I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategy at Dreamscape Marketing. I have 10 years of experience in marketing in the most competitive performance marketing landscape that there is in behavioral healthcare. And we have since been introduced to the aging services area and are doing a number of campaigns and projects there. And I'm really glad to be a part of this presentation today. Please put where you're watching from in there. I always love to see that. I'm currently broadcasting right up the mountain in Golden, Colorado. I see that Ashley's looking in from Denver, and so I'm waving at you down the mountain. Hey, Ashley, good to see you. We definitely put where you're watching from in there. And I know that no matter where we're at, I'll dig into the kind of the topic about this website. No matter where we're at, that we do come up with this struggle, right? That how do we effectively communicate to our target audience who and what we are, what we do, but also have conversions in mind. I was talking with an operator yesterday about this, that there's this duality that we have to respect our residents, our community members, and who they are, and effectively tell their story to an audience while still keeping the bottom line in mind. And I think that's kind of a challenge that we've wrestled with for a number of years. I think in my experience in senior living with websites is that they were a nice to have for a number of years, and occupancy was fantastic across the board. And then we slowly started seeing a changing market as the baby boomer generation has started to search for aging services. The way that they view those decisions, those lifestyle and healthcare decisions, has changed so much over the last, I would say the last 4 years. It was even before COVID, we started to see a little bit of a change in that, in the way that they were searching and making these decisions. And it started to be much more exploratory online. We started to see people going there, and then COVID hit, right? And it completely, it accelerated that shift. Almost overnight, it went digital first. And I think a number of operators were left kind of stuck and struggling. How do we do what we've done with brand marketing and lifestyle marketing for years? How do we make that shift and go digital and conversion focused in a quick way? And some did it with varying levels of success, but just like, whenever Dave and I were trying to figure out this virtual conference world back in the day, I think a number of operators have thrown it together with duct tape trying to figure it out today. And so what I want to do is I want to talk real quickly about some of the strategies and the ways that we've seen people effectively do this, the ways that we've done it. So at least there's a roadmap, and we're not trying to throw things together with duct tape and figure it out, and hopefully not making those mistakes. So we're going to talk a little bit about bridging the gap between brand marketing and performance marketing on the website, and the way to kind of construct it and build it first. And so the number one thing that I want people to hear today, that is that I have conversations with operators over and over again, is that the website is the foundational piece of the conversion funnel. Okay. I've had a conversation with an operator that said, we went through this piece about performance marketing and conversions, And I started talking about the construction of the website. And they said, no, we're not talking about the website. We're talking about performance. And I want to say that those two are synonymous today. The website is the foundational piece of the funnel now. I've also spoken with operators that had this long drawn out journey on their website. And I want to say that has changed also, that the funnel for a new resident into a move-in is so complex today that by the time the resident reaches the website, they cannot go on another journey. It needs to be conversion focused. So it used to be you could have a website that the tagline and this this idea was the first thing that they saw on the website, and then it drew them in and they went on this complex journey. The market today and the prospective resident today, they've already gone through a marketing journey to get there. And we'll talk about that in a second. Like when they get to the website, it needs to be very clear. We need to see who you are, right? Who the operator is. It needs to have the services there because they're looking to like get information and to buy by the time they get to the website. Taking them on a whole other journey is we're seeing they don't have the attention span for that today. We all don't. We're so much quicker to click today. And so the essence and the foundation of a digital funnel today is the website, and it needs to be conversion focused. Remember too that your customer, when it comes to the website, is not just the prospective resident. Your customer is Google. And so the website needs to be constructed for Google as well. When you're building the website, SEO and website construction, and that's search engine optimization, are not two different things. The website it needs to be built with search engine optimization in mind. And so the construction of it is extremely important. If Google is reading your website and deciding from the construction of your website and the content on your website and how fast your website is, if it's looking at those factors and then pushing the better constructed sites, the faster performing sites, and the more relevant content sites to the top of people's feed, well, that's where we want to be. That's how we want to have that in mind. So how do you marry that with brand marketing? How do you marry that with what we know so well? And it starts off with understanding your target market, your audience, and creating personas. And you do that at the community level by interviewing your staff, interviewing your sales staff, interviewing your community members, your residents, and having real personas in mind of who you're looking to attract. One of the things I hear when we start talking about websites from different operators is, I don't want this cookie cutter website. I want something that really stands out and doesn't look like everybody else. And then whenever we start asking them about user personas and the type of resident they're looking to attract, they say, well, we want to attract everyone in this demographic, right? Everyone with this income level. Well, if we're trying to attract everyone, do you think your website's going to look like everyone's? Absolutely. Like, talk to your residents, interview your sales staff, interview your people, and find out who you really want to attract and who you don't, right? It's okay to say we're not appropriate for this demographic. The more targeted you can be, the better, right? And then your website can actually look like an individual. It can look like your brand, your identity. And then working with an organization, a marketing agency, or your internal teams to build it for search engine optimization for Google, right? But it also tells your story. The more targeted you are with your user personas, the more targeted the website can be built to only get those particular types of residents that you're looking for. And then your sales team doesn't have to sift through them, right? If you are a high-end senior living, let's say a high-end CCRC, in a high-end demographic, you don't want to be showing up in search queries that also show Section 8 housing. You don't want to show up in those, right? But if you're not specifying and you're not clear in your user persona about that, then your website can show up for those things. And then it's up to your sales staff to weed through that, and it drives your cost per acquisition number through the roof. So clearly identify your target market, communicate with your digital marketing team, and build that into the website. Be very targeted with that. I could go on for hours about website construction and the ways to do it. I don't think that's the vehicle here. We could get really technical. This is just a brief kind of overview of that. But know that your website needs to be built to reach your target market. It's the foundational piece of the funnel, and it needs to be built to speak to Google, right? Which is also needs to be built with SEO in mind as part of it. Let's see. What are some other things I want to talk about? When you're developing this idea of a full funnel, so think of this. I want to build a funnel real quick because this is a good broad overview. The website is the foundational piece. It's the conversion point, and it's built to for Google, and it's built to target your market. To get them there, to build this funnel out from that, there are so many tools that you can use. You can go through the traditional marketing mediums that we've used for years, right? You can go through traditional media. You can go through print marketing. Make sure that ties into your CRM. We'll get into that in a second. You can go in through programmatic display ads. You can go in through paid search through Google. You don't just have to go in SEO. You can go through paid search as well. Employ social media, the different social media channels. Let's see, all of those need to be built with leading back to the website in mind. Everything goes back down to the conversion piece on the website. And so map out that user journey and that user experience with the funnel. So let's say that there is a commercial that you have going out. Make sure that you have that track that leads into social media display ads, right? Have those tracked that then lead back to the website. So then the website is there to convert at the bottom. All of this, the funnel can be broad. It can be very refined as long as you have that user in mind. If you have that target market in mind first, you can build all of these things out to funnel a person down into that resident journey to the website, then to conversion to your sales team. All along the way in this funnel. So let's say that there's another way that a user finds it. So let's say that there's let's go in through LinkedIn, for example. Okay, so LinkedIn, we seem to be very successful for attracting and retaining staff. Okay, so think about this: that staffing being such a big key for senior living operators today, that we're not just talking about the resident journey, we're talking about the staff attraction journey as well. And so we've seen LinkedIn funnels be very effective for that. You can use those to target and bring prospective employees into a marketing funnel. It still converts on the website, and so having a careers section or even campaign built into the website is extremely important. So let's see some other ideas of some funnels that we've seen. Social media, because this is more of a lifestyle. Social media is very important as a top of funnel. Putting programs out there. One of the things I hear from residents more than anything else is residents want to attract people that they want to spend time with and hang out with and go do like-minded activities. And so having these, like interviewing your residents and knowing, like, if you have a resident base that is super into hiking like I am, and we talked to operator yesterday about this, like going on Meetup and looking at these hiking groups and then pulling those members into a funnel that shows that this particular community is very dedicated to hiking and exploring and traveling, and that this is not moving into this particular community is not going to the home. like this is the beginning of the next journey in their life, that they're going to be able to go hiking and exploring, and that they're going to be surrounded with like-minded individuals. That can be put out there in a social media campaign that then draws them into a funnel. And if you have those activities on your website with clear calls to action, then it's going to increase the volume of like-minded individuals that are likely to move into that particular community, while self-selecting out the ones that won't. And in that way, you've reduced the workload onto your sales staff, and you've reduced your cost per acquisition number. Those are just examples of ways to build a funnel with some digital marketing tools. We can get really into the weeds, and I love, I haven't even gotten into email automation and some of the other tools that we can use, but building a real funnel with that user in mind, with that audience in mind, and kind of marrying what we know with the residents with the tools that we can use now. The second piece to that, after the funnel is actually built, is tracking all the way down. I was actually part of a marketing presentation one time that was called the shotgun approach. I never want to be a part of one of those again. And the idea is just to throw a whole bunch of stuff out there, shoot a whole bunch of stuff out, and hopefully something sticks, right? And that was an actual real marketing campaign that I saw. With this funnel, with the funnel construction and the website being that foundational piece, it's only as good as the tracking. And whenever I remember when we first started coming into the space, and I was talking to certain operators, and I was talking about lead attribution and how granular we can get if the tools are in place. And the goal is that we can actually get to a point where we have an actionable cost per move-in that's attributed to each digital channel. And the operator was like, "You can do that?" I said, "Absolutely. We've been doing it for 17 years in behavioral healthcare. We kind of have to over there." But yeah, we absolutely can. Let's talk about your CRM. Let's talk about your call tracking system. Let's talk about your chat feature. Let's talk about your digital tools. Are you using pixels in social media? And more often than not, the answer I get is what? And here's the thing, all of these digital tools that we use to build a funnel all have tracking mechanisms that can integrate and built into each other. Whenever you're looking at building a website, also need to look at what CRM are we integrating? What call tracking are we going to integrate with that? What other systems are we going to put in place? What does our reporting look like after a person makes that phone call? All of those things need to be built into place. I'll give you an example. So what we like to do when we're working with an operator is that we build in all of these tools and all of these different pieces of the funnel with integrations back to the CRM. And then into, we really love call tracking metrics, call rail, those are fantastic platforms, but making sure that we've integrated fully with them, with the whole campaign. So whenever we're generating a call through one of our PPC campaigns, that it tracks. So we know that it's not coming in through organic SEO. We know it's coming in through paid search, and we're able to listen to the calls. And then we have a 5-star grading system where we actually grade the calls to see like what kind of results are we driving. And then we can help to inform if it gets to the call center and we're hearing that we're generating the right demographic, the right person, and yet it's not landing. That person's not moving in over and over again. And if we're hearing that, we can have those conversations with the internal teams and saying, "Hey, like help us understand how we're generating this particular lead for you. And you've said that this is the lead that you would like to get. And yet whenever that phone call is coming in, we're hearing it and it's deemed not appropriate or that it's not coming in. Help us understand how we can do better, or is there a human resources issue on the internal side?" In that way, at the end of each quarter, I like to look at like, what are we really driving? What is the cost per move-in number look like for these different channels? And then also on the back end, is this particular marketing channel and marketing campaign delivering the type of residents that our current residents want to spend time with, want to be with, want to go hiking with, right? That is possible. And that's what we're doing today. That's where it's going today. It can't just be a scattershot approach where you take a whole bunch of stuff and throw it at the wall. It all has to have a purpose, and it all has to be tracked. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of money in different places, and just hoping that it works. The website is the foundational piece. It's where you start. And there's many different ways to do it. There's many different companies out there that are doing a fantastic job. I would just really spend some time knowing that is the case. Spend some time, identify your target market, get some user personas, like the ones that you're really trying to attract, work with your internal teams to do that. And then make sure that is educating you as you're building out your digital funnel and converting at the website. I know that's broad, and we could get into each one of these things. I've spent hours talking about just search engine optimization and SEO and what that is. That could be for another time. If you have any like really detailed questions and you want to dig into it, we can. I would like to save some time. Dave, I have a couple time for some of these questions. I would like to do that. Yeah,
no, absolutely. So that was perfect. And I think I'm taking notes during everybody's presentations, and it's scary, right? And Glenn and I, obviously, we work together all the time on this, is talking about taking all these us traditional marketers and shifting that digital performance mindset. How do we tell the story? How do we tell the human aspect of it? But how, if it doesn't get out there, if Google doesn't pick it up and run with it, we have to have that performance mindset too. So we're always talking about how to blend those two things. And another thing that's scary, and I think it's a topic that's hit a few times today, is we are terrified to let bad matches go because we're worried about our numbers. But if you are refining, if you're using these funnels, if you're using Glenn's strategy and you're using Evan's tools and so on and so forth, your conversion rates are going to go up because you're just talking to the people who are the good match. Because some people are bad matches. We have bad client matches. We have bad resident. It doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean negative. It just means not a good fit. And that's okay. But I think people are terrified to hit performance numbers. But I think if you did it that way, your performance numbers would go up.
And I think that's one of the things that we've really tried to bridge, is that, having the performance goals being met while developing this, it can be done. It's not an either or. Now I think that we're in a world where it has to be both. You really do have to approach both. I do want to answer Linda's question. She says every day she's solicited by many folks, companies about SEO. Who do we trust? I want to tell you something. That is the real challenge with SEO, is that when someone is doing organic SEO work, the best companies in the world are still subject to Google indexing their work. And that indexing process really takes 6-7 months before you start to see it be the content being fully indexed. So no matter how good the agency is or bad, it's going to take 6 or 7 months to really understand if they're doing good work. And that's not because of the agency, it's because of Google and the way that Google operates in that. So here's a way that you did it. Like, talk to their current clients. Really vet them. Whenever you're talking with the company, don't go based on how good a presentation and how good they talk and all this good stuff. Like, talk to their current clients and ask them how it's worked, how long they've worked with them. How long have they been a customer, and what were the results of the organic SEO piece? Let their clients talk to you about that, because that's really the only way to know if it's really working. If they come in and you hear someone promise quick results through organic SEO, that's kind of a red flag.
Yep. All right. Well, we're just about up on time. I just want to say, Glenn, duct tape. The only thing that's good for is putting together trade show booths. So I wrote that down in the beginning because you and I have been there.
Absolutely.
One other thing, I guess, one other thing I would just add, and I know this isn't exactly a trade-off, but I was sort of thinking as you were talking, Glenn, which is more important, a pretty website or a website that gives you the right information? Because I think that sometimes people build beautiful websites, but they don't answer people's questions. And in fact, this is my, and it's not just a senior living problem, but I think that the most important question that every website site should answer, and I think that senior living is not very good at this, is what are the number 1, 2, or 3 problems that you solve, and what makes your solution better than anybody else's? And this sort of goes back to Evan's presentation, right? Is, are you actually really answering the questions that people are asking, or are you just saying, look at me, I'm beautiful and I'm wonderful, and maybe that's not what people really care about?
No, I think that this is going to sound, I think that you can have both if the work is done up front. If we're really understanding who this particular community is geared towards and really putting that out there, I think that you can have both. The problem that we run into is we have our the operators that sometimes are lean too heavily in one or the other. They just want heads in beds, right? Or they just want this beautiful representation of who they are. And I think that we, as we evolve as an industry, have to look at both sides of that and address both, because we absolutely can do that. We can create a very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing website that answers the question, right? That really answers it. If I'm asking an operator, like, who is going to be great in your community, and you say everyone, that's a red flag, because it's not true. Every community is not right for everyone, and the more targeted we can be, the more we can answer those questions for the prospective resident. And sometimes, like today's point, the answer is no, right? Maybe this isn't a good fit.
Yeah, and I put it in the chat, but I'm not particularly advocating for ugly websites. Don't get me wrong there. And I guess my point is that I think that sometimes people spend so much time on the aesthetics that they actually don't get to the important part. And that's really the concern I have, is that you build a beautiful website and you haven't actually answered people's questions. So
absolutely. Last thing I want to say, that if when talking with a marketing agency, especially a digital marketing agency, like at least for us, I don't want to rebuild a website. Like, I really don't. The most important thing for me is I would love to work with a new operator that we could come in and really start working on our campaign to go reach the prospective market. Whenever I look at it, and it's like, it's prohibitive. The construction of the website is prohibitive, and it's not built in a way that Google can read. It, like, my heart sinks, because I know now we have to have a difficult conversation. We have to have this, like, I really want to work with you, and I really want to help reach your prospective residents. But we have to talk about this website, because we don't want to do that. Like, a good marketing agency doesn't want to build a new website. We would love to come in and it's ready to rock and roll. And so just know that our heart kind of sinks whenever we have to have that conversation. If you're talking to somebody and they're real excited because they have to rebuild your website, that's a red flag.
Yeah, we've redone our website probably 5 times in the life of senior living foresight, and frankly, we know that in the next 2 years we're going to have to do another rebuild, because we've just evolved and changed, and it's not only expensive to do, but it's time consuming, and you always miss stuff, and you translate, even if you say we're WordPress based, even if you stay in WordPress, you miss stuff, and it's not much fun. And we've got, compared to most senior living organizations, our problems are much bigger, because we've probably got 5,000 pages at the 6,000 pages of content at this point in time. Most people don't suffer from that problem. Again, just a reminder, can I beg you to do this? Can I beg you? Can I bribe you? I'm trying to figure this out. I took a look during the last session while I was listening to Glenn to see how you guys are doing on filling out these evaluations, and some of you are doing an amazing job, and some of you are not so much. It'll only take you like 30 seconds for each of these. if you haven't done it in the past ones, you weren't here, that's okay. Just go do Glenn's, give him some love there, or give him some help there, depending on how you feel about it. I think people liked it based on the chats though. So
I had a lot of fun, guys. Thank y'all for participating in the chat, and feel free to reach out. We love to offer any expertise or just answers, even if we're not working with an individual, just because I believe that the more educated and the more knowledgeable that we all are in the space, the better, right? And at the end of the day, we're talking about helping people. So let's help as many people as we can.
Perfect way to end it. All right, guys, we are up literally on time. So we're going to have Mark Cherubion from site staff in a second. So I'm going to close this out and we're going to jump right over there. So see you in a second. Thank you, Glenn. All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.